Okay, we're live on the Domus Search Leadership Podcast. The Domus Search Leadership Podcast is a series of interviews with CEOs and founders of innovative and exciting organizations in Europe involved in biotech, medical device technology, and pharmaceutical manufacturing. I'm delighted to be joined today from Finland, Marko Höynälä. Apologies, Marko. I've been practicing that there a second. Marko Höynälä, who is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Kipuwex, who are a Finnish medical device technology organization, doing some really exciting and innovative things. And great to see you, Marko. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Matt. It's my pleasure to be here.
And as you can tell from the background, you're in the glorious northern parts of Finland at your cabin/cottage on the lake, which I'm extremely envious of.
Yeah, I have now a chance to come here, mainly thanks to COVID. It allows now people to work remotely, and yes. I use this opportunity to work remotely whenever I can do that. So my cottage is quite north, 700 kilometers north from our capital, Helsinki.
Fantastic. And you're so close to the lake there. Have you been in it yet at this time of year?
Not this time. I like cold water, but so far I haven't gone there. But probably today, after this interview, I will be sweating.
Cool down.
So it will be a good place to actually cool down.
Absolutely. And reflect. Yeah. So we spoke recently over the last couple of months. I was really interested in learning more about Kipuwex. I got to understand the great things that you're doing and innovation there. And also what's really interesting to me is that you've not followed the typical path of staying in the same industry for many, many years. You've broken away to a different industry, and that's really exciting and gives people a lot of hope and plays nicely to their ambitions. Perhaps would you mind giving us an overview of your career in a sort of brief intro there, and then maybe we can lead into Kipuwex and talk more about Kipuwex there.
Yeah, happy to do that. So I graduated 1995, and right after that I joined Nokia. Nokia was still quite a tiny company at that time. So we started to actually make 2G phones. And step by step, actually, it kind of started to gain more interest and more subscribers, etc.
Yeah.
So then after a couple of years, we ran out of resources in Finland. Yeah. So we were forced to actually find the resources outside of Finland. So I was sent to Denmark to actually transfer competence to my colleagues in Denmark. So I ended up being 5 years in Denmark in different type of roles, all kind of technical related. Yeah. And then again, Nokia was growing very rapidly, and 3G came on board, and I was then asked whether I would like to go to UK. And I wanted to use that opportunity, and I spent 3 years in UK. Again, different type of roles, mostly again in technical field, but also started to actually gain a little bit of kind of commercial side of the things.
Okay.
So I was dealing with the suppliers and wanted to actually get the obviously all the necessary equipment on time with a decent price. So there was a lot of negotiation involved, etc. So I spent the 3 years there. And then Nokia was expanding again, and I was asked whether I would like to go to India and start a Nokia R&D in Bangalore. And again, I'm a person who likes to go out of a comfort zone.
Yes.
So I said, yes, I can go there. And at that time, I had 3 small kids with me and wife, and we moved to Bangalore. And I spent 2 years in Bangalore studying R&D side. And then after 10 years abroad, I returned back to Finland. So then overall, at that time, I was 10 years in Nokia, and then continued a couple more years in Finland, Oulu. And then the technology I was involved with was sold to Japan-based company called Renesas.
Yes,
so I ended up being 3 years with Renesas. And again, technology was sold to Broadcom, US-based company.
Yeah.
So after 1 year, Broadcom unfortunately decided to exit from the business, from basically modem technology business.
Yeah.
And that was my opportunity to actually start as an entrepreneur. So right after I was kicked out, I started my own company. And I really was kind of prepared for that because I was in different type of roles all the time moving on. And I have been involved in all kind of roles, covering, let's say, R&D and commercial side of the things, HR, and stuff like that. Yeah. So I was ready to actually start as an entrepreneur. And IoT technology was on the way. Yeah. And I wanted to do something with IoT. So for my first innovation was Skiat, again, a tiny device, which is actually capturing quite a lot of details about the cross-country skiing. I know that many listeners, they don't know anything about cross-country skiing, so I'm not saying too much about it.
That's okay. Just look at Finland in the Olympics and not all the Scandinavian countries there.
Yeah, but yes, that was a good starting exercise, or let's say exercise to become an entrepreneur. But it was not necessarily my real passion. I wanted to do something in medical field. Before I actually started my engineering study, I was considering to study doctor or medical. Yeah. But then I took a shortcut that I graduate faster if I become engineer. Okay. But then all the time I've been thinking that what if I did something in medical field? And also it kind of reflects my career that I finally got the chance 2017 to do something in a medical field. It was a pure accident that I noticed there was an innovation competition organized by Oulu University Hospital, which is one of the largest hospitals in Finland, whereby doctors and nurses, they were looking, or they listed the 4 or 5 biggest medical problems they see in their daily life. And one of them was a pain assessment of children and babies. Yes. And that raised my interest that how on earth there is no such a solution available on the market which is able to quantify the pain of the child. And I wanted to participate in this innovation competition. And after a couple of days, I prepared my proposal and I won this competition with the idea of Kipuwex. So that was a starting point. So 2017, I actually managed to enter finally into medical field.
That's wonderful. What a great story. And does the name have significance, Kipuwex? Does it mean something in another language, or does it translate to English? Anyway,
it means pain away.
Pain away.
Yeah. So this was also interesting. So when I did the proposal that how the pain can be quantified, so the submission was ending midnight. So I was kind of preparing everything, but I didn't have a name for the project.
Okay.
So time was clicking. That's just a few minutes before the midnight. Then pain away. And then I did the submission. And since that, we have been calling a company and the product as Kipuwex. Of course, we've been considering different names, but at least up until now, it's called Kipuwex.
Fabulous. So that was 2017.
Yeah, it was 2017.
Wow, amazing. And did the hospital did they take more of an interest after that as well, in between then and now?
Yeah, I've been in a good position in a way that when we started the project, they engaged. They actually provide huge amount of feedback because I came from different type of business. I didn't know anything about the medical side of the things and pain and how to quantify that actually. So it was very important to get constantly feedback from the professionals.
Yes.
So we did a very close cooperation, 6 months, where we actually kind of prepared the first prototype. Of course, it didn't work properly. It's quite difficult. If this was easy exercise, it would have been invented ages ago.
Yes.
But as it's very complex, we managed to make a first, let's say, prototype after 6 months.
Wonderful.
And then there was kind of speculation that how to move forward. I cannot go further without getting help from the professionals, but at the same time, they are hoping that they will get a solution available on the market and they can utilize and use that. Yeah. So they decided to continue cooperation until the product is ready. So we've been cooperating with all university hospital since 2017.
Wonderful. And are they an investor as well? Have they invested, or have they just provided the facility?
In a way, they are investors because they invest time.
Yes.
And it's really amazing that doctors and nurses, they are extremely busy, that they still are able to kind of give some time for me and my project. So this is really much appreciated.
It's really nice. And I can't imagine that happens in every country in the world, that the professionals want to invest their time to see greater solutions get to the market. That's very entrepreneurial of them as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and you cannot actually develop a solution in silos in your garage. You need to get the continuous feedback. This is the only way how you can actually make product right. Yeah. Otherwise, you go definitely wrong direction.
Absolutely. No, and that's really great, and that says a lot for you as well, that you have sought the advice of others instead of thinking that you have all the answers. You've said, "This is where my skill set takes me. I now need your expertise to help us take my idea to the next level." So that's a really testament to you and credit to you there as well, which is really great.
But of course, during those 5 years, I have learned quite a bit of medical side of the things. Still, I'm not the doctor or anything, but I'm forced to kind of understand what inputs they are giving, why they are giving, and what it means in practice, and can we implement all these inputs, not necessarily all, but most important inputs, feasible manner.
Absolutely. And so for those that don't know as well, and you can expand on this if you could as well, Kipuwex is a medical device technology that has Internet of Medical Things. So it's a device that's giving out feedback and information as well, and a really something you can expand on as well is it. And as simple as it sounds, it's crazy that there wasn't anything to monitor children. So, and when you think about it, they can't talk and communicate as well as we can around pain. So what an incredible innovation. Could you give us a bit of an overview of Kipuwex now and where it is and the problems that you're tackling and solving in the industry?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, measuring or quantifying the pain, it's really challenging. But how doctors typically do it, they utilize or they actually check a different physiological biomarkers that are changing because of pain. So for instance, heart rate will change, skin conductivity, muscle tension, heart rate variability. These are kind of changes that are happening because of pain. Yes. And these are measurable. And in addition to that, there are behavioral factors such as crying and getting nervous, starting to shake body and things like that. And face
physical expressions.
And all of them are, they are all contributing, or actually they are consequences of pain.
Yes.
So we are actually looking both physiological parameters and behavioral. So in nutshell, we actually capture more biomarkers than any other similar device at the moment.
Yes.
And in addition to that, these behavioral factors. So all these biomarkers in total, 11, we have integrated into one single tiny device, which will be put on the chest of the person. But I want to highlight that this is not only for babies, but the pain functionality that works only for children under the age of 7.
Yes.
But all these different biomarkers are possible to monitor remotely. So this is in the first phase, we actually launching Kipuwex as a remote monitoring device without pain assessment functionality.
Yeah.
And it's really affordable. We have designed this device such a way that it's also affordable in developing countries.
Yes.
And as a little bit background, so there are 3.6 billion people in the world who are suffering, not suffering, but are lacking possibilities to go to a hospital timely manner, and simply because there are distances, infrastructure, they don't have money, and also they are lacking doctors. So we are actually making a device that will help people in developing countries as well.
Absolutely.
And
I'll make sure I share
a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. I'll make sure I share the video links that you have. So half of the world's population it does not have good access to healthcare. And that tends to be in lower income countries, and that is often due to the high cost of medical devices, essentially, isn't it? And I think I read something somewhere.
Yeah, that is one reason also. Yes, like normal monitoring devices, they are damn expensive, and typically they just capture 1 or 2, 3 biomarkers.
Yeah,
and it's also difficult to handle all these different equipment. So what has happened in the past, if we look at, for instance, mobile phones, they were meant for kind of calling, nothing else. And then you had different fax machine, you had an alarm clock, you had a notepad, and many different devices.
Yeah.
And then eventually all these things got integrated into one. So all these functionality nowadays are available in the normal standard mobile phone.
Yes.
And similar thing has not yet happened in medical field. There's a lot of different type of equipment used for certain purposes. Yes. And what is going to happen for sure, this is my prediction, and what we are actually doing with Kipuwex, not all, but quite a lot of different biomarkers will get integrated into one single device.
Yes.
And this is what we have done with Kipuwex.
It's interesting. And I was speaking yesterday with Professor Sam Shah, who's heavily involved in technologies and digital health as well. And he was talking about combined technologies and where the information is coming closer together and more integrated, which is really interesting. I'll make sure I share that with you. And the other thing I saw online as well is, I think in the Western countries or developed countries, it's one doctor for every 500 people. And in the developing countries, it's kind of like one doctor for every 15,000 people. So the real lack of access. So devices such as the Kipuwex device is going to be so powerful to help reduce the time it takes to measure.
Yeah, exactly like that. It is really a problem in developing countries. And in worst case, that the distance and infrastructure is very difficult when you actually go to doctors. Then you spend entire day for that. Yeah. And finally, when you have an appointment, you have only 1 minute with the doctor, and they're supposed to make a right diagnosis in 1 minute. So it's a really challenge in those countries. Absolutely. But at the same time, in, let's say, Western countries, the healthcare cost is growing all the time. Yes. Everybody knows that. Yes. And so this situation is unsustainable. And for instance, in US, 20% of GDP goes to healthcare, and it's increasing year by year. Yeah. So of course, now everyone is looking kind of possibilities how to actually lower the cost of healthcare. Yeah. And then Kipuwex is also helping there.
It's incredible what you're doing. So from Finland, and we spoke about Nokia earlier, another great export of Finland and Nordics and Scandinavian countries. What have been the challenges, or what do you foresee the challenges of trying to access developing countries from Finland, and will that be collaborations and partnerships with local entity? How do you see it all playing out, really, to benefit the consumer or the end user?
Yeah, originally we were thinking kind of that we will be using normal distribution channel. Yeah, that was a kind of, I would say, wrong assumption at that time. As when you're introducing a new medical device with new technology, you cannot sell that as a catalog item. Okay. So basically, no one would actually buy Kipuwex without knowing how it works and so on. Of course, when you have a reputation, then you can sell that as a normal catalog item. But we I kind of I go a little bit back. So I was invited to visit Pakistan 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There was a kind of clearly interest that they want to understand if it's suitable for hospitals in those countries, because different functionalities that we have integrated and also the price point. So I went to Pakistan to see those hospitals, and they were kind of amazed. The feedback was really amazing, that how on earth it's possible to have all these functionalities in such a small, tiny device. And clearly, I saw that the opportunity is huge. Then started to think that how we could actually then basically deliver from Finland to those countries like Pakistan, and realizing that we cannot do that through the distribution channel. So we need to have a local agents, basically those people or entities who are promoting our devices, and they are kind of door openers to different hospitals. And we have now managed to organize or build up a organization, not organization, but a kind of network, which consists of around 150 partners, mostly in developing countries. Amazing. And the common nominator is that they are door openers, they are promoting Kipuwex, and then they will be basically our distributors, at least in the beginning. So that we get the sales going. And it's good also that all hospitals that are interested in our technology, they get chance to try it out. So they can play with the device, and if they are happy, then they will place the order from us.
That's wonderful.
This is how we have done. So we have a network of around 150 partners.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I imagine that's taken a lot of effort on your part to get out there, and your colleagues as well, in getting the message out there as well.
Yeah, I think this is good lessons learned. Also, if you had let's say young entrepreneurs, typically they kind of I have done the same mistake, that developing the product to a certain level and then starting a kind of sales and marketing activity. But we have actually started sales and marketing activity already 2 years ago, building up the network. And that is very important, that now we have an extremely good, powerful network around us.
Fabulous. I know Tita's been heavily involved in that, hasn't she, on the marketing front and getting the brand out there. So that's how we came to be speaking now through Tita. That's wonderful.
Yes, indeed. And the good thing is that this way we can do it with quite low budget.
Yes, it's amazing how word can be spread through these marketing ideas, really, and interventions. That's wonderful.
And of course, I have quite a good network myself. But then my organization, there are quite a few people who have an amazing network, and we've been utilizing that network and people around the globe.
And I don't know if other people are thinking this, but how do you manage to keep the cost of the product so low, Mark? As well, it's just something that I thought, it's because we're in Finland is not a cheap place to live and produce, I imagine. But how do you manage that, and how have you been able to innovate in that area of cost reduction?
Yeah, it's all about the design. That when you do a proper design, then you can go to a relatively low cost. Of course, then the manufacturing cost in Finland is clearly higher than in, let's say, some of the countries. But then when we talk about medical devices, we don't want to compromise our quality. So we want to actually manufacture devices in Finland. But over time, certainly, when we go to China, for instance, it makes sense that those devices that we are selling to China will be manufactured in China. But at the moment, we are just manufacturing in Finland.
I imagine the packaging can be lower cost. The IP and the tech on the sensors and such is going to be extremely high quality.
Of course, this IP protection is always a question, and many people ask how I make sure that it's not going to get copied. When we talk about medical devices, the copying, it's kind of hardware-wise. You can copy quite easily, no doubt. But having all the regulations in place, so that the device is regulated and the company has all the necessary approvals in place. It's really time-consuming, expensive exercise. Absolutely. And then, of course, we have a couple patents in place.
Yes.
And then the actual software that we have developed, the algorithms, we have developed those over 5 years, and those cannot be copied. They are kind of embedded in the code. So kind of copying just the device doesn't actually give anything for anyone.
And I know I remember fondly our last meeting where you demonstrated, you had one of the devices on as well, and while we were talking, I was able to see what was going on with your heart rate and the temperature of your body and all sorts. It's really fascinating. So I think whoever is listening here and interested, they should absolutely get in touch. I wanted to, that's been really, really helpful, Marko, as well. And thanks for your insights there as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I guess this talks to your peers as well, other founders and entrepreneurs and CEOs, but it also talks to the other part of the audience who are aspiring to either set up their own business or join organizations and progress their career as well. And I imagine it's probably on your mind as well as your business continues to grow. So a couple of topics around talent, but also business advice. And I wondered where Kipuwex is now and the experience that you've had in developing Kipuwex. What advice would you give to other founders and CEOs who are maybe a few steps back, a few stages back, where you've already learnt the lessons and the highs and the lows of getting a product to market? Could you share any advice or insights that could be useful to those people?
Well, I would say there are a lot of kind of learnings during the journey until this point. But, there are many people who are hesitant to start a company. And I encourage that they will take the
risk.
step.
Yes.
Otherwise, we are not moving on, and health tech is going to stand still. So we need kind of brave people who are willing to actually take that step, and believing that there will be people around, and not being kind of hesitant to ask for help. Just ask for help and share basically what are the problems. And typically, you will get the good advices. You get the good people around you who want to help you. So not being scared to ask for help, and believing that there's always, when you try hard enough, there's a solution in place. Like I've been so many times almost this close to actually go into bankrupt. Many reasons, of course, COVID-19 and also the Ukraine war and things like that are making things very difficult. But when you're kind of positive and you seek solutions, typically you find them in the end. And even it's very painful to actually, let's say, step out from the comfort zone. Usually it's pays off. So I'm a very shy person, but I'm in all kind of weird situations. I've been pitching from the ice hole. I'm in front of thousands of people. I'm not used to do that, but I'm a person who is willing to actually kind of go out of my own comfort zone. So don't hesitate to do that. I think this is probably a good advice for.
It's a great message. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you would soon find out if what you are doing is something that you really believe in and you have got a strong desire to achieve. I think if you give up too soon, maybe that's a signal that you don't believe in what you're doing enough, or maybe you need to change the direction of what you're doing.
Yeah, I think there's two types of persons. I cannot say which one is right. That some kind of advice is that understanding very quickly that is not going to fly and stop it early enough, and not trying to actually push all your energy for something that is not going to fly. Kind of realizing that is one side of the thing. But on the other hand, when there are these obstacles, problems, and every single entrepreneur, if this was easy, then everyone would be entrepreneurs. So there are ups and downs. So when you are down, you kind of push and work very hard to resolve these issues. And typically, you are actually able to do that. But then when you're actually going up, you can expect that anytime soon it's going to go down again. And you must be prepared to kind of be in the roller coaster all the time.
Yeah, so having that awareness that it's not always going to be up here, there's going to be some down here time, but realize that there's going to be a nice balance of both.
Yes.
That's really great advice, Marko. And what about, and I'm always interested as well when I speak to founders and CEOs and chairs, what your best advice is for somebody who's moving into a leadership position, or perhaps, what would be some of the key things to prepare when going to work for a startup or a high growth scale up? Because I often find that feedback that I get is they're a great candidate, Matt. The reason we've chose this person is they can adjust. I think they're going to adjust better to startup life, for example. Is there a piece of advice that you might have for those people maybe moving from a larger business into a smaller business or in general?
Yeah, I would say there are a few key things that there were kind of that typically I put attention on when I'm a recruiting person. One is kind of eagerness to learn, kind of seeing the eyes opens, really fire coming out of the eyes. I want to come, I want to learn, I want to do something. I don't care about necessary salary and things like that. They're just keen on that we can make a difference, not kind of continuing doing a similar thing day after day. They see that there is a lot of opportunity to grow, and they see the opportunity of the company. So kind of somehow kind of having the entrepreneurial attitude.
Yes.
Because as I said, it's kind of going to be up and downs.
Yeah.
And those people who are really ones that like to be kind of in the similar
stasis, homeostasis.
Yes. Then they are not necessarily right people to recruit. Yeah. And then one thing is that, I mean, startups, you have so many things to do. You have so many balls on fire.
Or on fire. That's a good one.
Yes. So that are able to do multitasking. And the people who just want to do certain things all the time, they are not necessarily the right type of persons in your company, because there's always surprises and someone needs to cover the caps.
Yes.
And everyone must be willing to do that. Even I have a recruited algorithm guy, then we may have a desperate need to actually do some testing stuff. But we need to definitely now run this testing stuff. Then, everyone must be kind of willing to actually jump into other position and fill the gaps.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I think these are key things. And then also maybe the third one is that trust people. So this is really that the people want to show that they are capable of. And also it's good for yourself. If you actually try to be everywhere, then you actually run into burnout anytime soon. So you need to actually trust your people and delegate tasks for your people.
That's really, really useful. So the energy, the passion, the ambition, the drive to do more and take on more and grow. I think growth was a big thing there as well from what you were saying. Yeah, like Sam was saying yesterday, you don't want to hire the perfect candidate, because the perfect candidate has got nowhere to go. They're already doing everything. Will they stay? Will we be able to keep them for a longer period if they're already achieving everything they want to achieve? We need people where there's skills gap that we can develop and grow so we can keep them for longer. No, that's really fascinating. Now, Marko, are you just as we wrap up the podcast here today as well? I imagine it's coming into the end of the year as well. Do you have any? Are you attending any other conferences or events, or is there anywhere that we should share that we make sure that people can find you?
Now in recent months, we have participated quite a few, let's say, investor type of exhibitions or events.
Yeah.
And there will be one also this year, Slush Helsinki. And this is probably the last one where we are going to participate this year.
Wonderful.
And we don't have any plans for next year that what are the events we are going to participate. But still, SLAS is still to go.
Yeah, fantastic. That's wonderful. Well, I'll make sure I share the notes and the videos and the links so that everybody can find you and read all about Kipuwex and follow your exciting journey as it goes. I think that's a brilliant way to end things for today, Marko, if that's okay.
Thank you very much, Matt. This was a great pleasure for me to be here.
Absolutely. Pleasure's all mine, Marko, and I'll see you on our debrief call.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.